Hi family, thanks for watching. So today I'm going to go over a very important tool in our bee kit, and that is the smoker. The smoker can be quite vexing, but especially when we were starting out, getting used to beekeeping and doing this for long periods of time, the smoker is an absolute essential tool. However, if you're watching this video, there is a high probability you have a hard time getting your smoker started and or keeping it lit. You can also be like us and not have had those problems in the beginning because you figured out a way to light these things, but now you're having a problem of it not working anymore. So all those things I'll try to go over in this video because this is a very necessary part of our toolkit. So I'll try to take everything step by step, starting with how to get it lit, then going over kind of like how we keep it lit, and then also about maintenance and why that's important. So before jumping into how to light your smoker, I'll go over a few things about the smoker first. But if you need, I'm going to try to label all the sections so you can jump forward as needed. The smoker's job is basically to calm the bees. From my understanding, it masks the fight or flight pheromone, the kind of like alarm pheromone. But we also observed that the bees will go into the frames and gorge themselves in preparation of absconding or leaving. The main chamber, called the fire chamber, I believe, of the smoker, we got stainless steel and got this shield around it so that we wouldn't accidentally burn ourselves. It has a little table at the bottom of the fire chamber, and this is to ensure that airflow will get through the whole chamber, because then you also have this part here, which is the bellows, and when you squeeze that, it pushes air through the chamber, and that way smoke will come out the nozzle on top. Obviously, too much smoke is a bad thing, but just a little bit of light smoke can help kind of, in a way, calm the bees down. Or it's also a way of helping you clear the path if you're, for example, trying to put a frame away and the bees have kind of congregated in one area and they tend to run away from the smoke. So it's a great way of helping you manage the bees, keeping them calm, and keeping them out of your way. Our smoker is like a small size, it's not your standard size. The reason being is because when we originally started beekeeping, we thought we were only going to ever have 2 hives. And from the reviews, the smaller smoker said that it would be fine for 1 to 2 hives or even like 5 to 6 hives. And we thought, we'll never have that many. But the advantage of getting the bigger smoker is that you don't have to refill it as quickly. I kind of wish we had gone with it. These things are fairly expensive, so it's kind of like once you buy it, that's it. So even if you're only getting 1 or 2 hives and you really only plan to stick to that, I'd still recommend getting the, I think in America, it's something like the 11-inch one. Because it's not really about the abundance of hives that you have, it's about the frequency in which you have to replenish it. And I have found that especially when you're going really slow, like we did in the beginning, you have to constantly be refilling this, and that's kind of cumbersome when you're already kind of overwhelmed by everything else that you're doing. Now I know there's some YouTubers that don't use smokers, that like to go without any bee equipment and such like that, or even without gloves, and I say cool, but when you're first starting, it can be a deterrent to get stung a lot and to be attacked by the bees. It's kind of one of those oxymorons where it's like you got to get used to the bees, you got to get kind of used to the stinging because it is inevitably going to happen. But at the same time, you don't want to be bombarded when you're first learning. You want to be able to enjoy it. So it's all about striking a balance on that aspect. We obviously go fully kitted. I have an issue where my hands shake constantly, so I am notoriously irritating the bees and aggravating them. So I'm always usually suited up. Now, you can buy wood-burning pellets specific for these smokers, and I guess they will burn a little cleaner. In fact, our smoker came with a handful of promotional freebies that we stuck in a pocket and clean forgot about. and eventually I think even threw them away. I find straw and pine needles are the best. We will collect our pine needles kind of at the end of autumn or maybe even the middle of winter and let them dry out. The reason I'm a really big fan of pine needles is because they smell nicer. They kind of dry pretty quickly. Last year, I think, I started growing thyme and mint because my husband read that adding these smells will trigger the bees to, I guess, self-clean, which helps with the mite problem. Can't say for sure that it really works. It does make the smoker smell absolutely amazing when you do have the dried thyme and mint in here. I don't know if the bees particularly enjoy it or if it's just all smoke to them. So we always kind of like to start this at the bottom of the hill by the truck, just because we're fire conscious. We live in an area where wildfires are a very real issue. We'll always try to start it down there when we have that option. We have this bee bucket, and anytime we happen to finish off one of the toilet rolls in the bathroom or kitchen rolls, we kind of just throw it in the bucket and use it as our base. I even in the beginning cut up pieces of cardboard and threw those in as the base for my smoker. We kind of also go overkill with our lighter. We used to use the little clicker ones that had like a little stick on them, you know, the ones used for barbecuing and whatnot, just because those things kept failing on us. Sometimes when you're trying to get down deep into the smoker, I really prefer this. But yeah, the idea is you want to get a base kind of going, a little base fire of something burning. If you don't get a good base going, then your smoker's going to go out pretty quick. But once you got your base going a little bit and it's burning, you want to add fuel essentially. We use pine needles because they are in abundance in this area. You don't want to press down too much in this smoker because you want airflow. And then we'll give it a bunch of nice big puffs to make sure that it's really lit, to get that air circulating. Make sure that that fire keeps going, giving it a couple pumps. So once you've got your smoker going, you'll see a nice white smoke billowing out. If you see a darker color coming out, like a gray or black smoke, I would just start over. Basically, you'll be able to tell when your smoker needs to be refueled because you'll start to see like white ash basically coming out of the smoker, not that nice billowing smoke that you always see. If you had a good base established, it will be just as easy as adding more fuel to keep the smoker going. So sometimes, actually I should say most of the time, we go too long before remembering to add fuel, and so we just have to give it a lot of squeezes of the bellows to reignite that fire in the chamber. Now the disadvantage of using this stuff that's just on the ground is there's obviously a lot more than just pine needles in here. There's dirt, there's seeds, there's this thicker stuff that burns a little harder. It creates a buildup inside of the smoker, which is the next part that I want to get to, and that is about maintaining your smoker. We didn't really take this buildup too seriously in our smoker, and for like the first 3 years did nothing about it. We just kind of kept going. But after time, that builds up and gets really, really thick, and the smoker essentially stops working. It doesn't matter how good your technique at starting it is and how often you refuel it, it will die. And so one day last autumn, I was struggling really to get this dang thing going. So my husband went through and cleaned it out for me, and it's been working perfectly fine ever since. Yeah, to keep this thing running and going, you definitely want to keep the whole thing clean. So on a maybe yearly basis, at the end of the year, just kind of get a nice wire brush and just scrub it. It takes something kind of sturdy, like a steel wire brush almost, to clean this. You'll have to kind of play around and figure out what works for you. We don't know exactly what worked for us because we just grabbed whatever brush we had on hand to make it work for us. But yeah, it's so important to keep your smoker clean, especially these smaller ones, because they're a little more sensitive. So another mistake that we made, we accidentally blocked the little air hole here with one of the feet that is at the bottom of this tray, and our smoker stopped working. And then once I moved it, it worked perfectly fine.
So there you have it. That's basically everything we currently know about smokers. If we missed any key details, please let us know in the comments. But basically, your smokers, I went over basically smoker size. Go for the large one, even if you're having a small apiary like us, because even though you have a small apiary, you're still going to be spending a lot of time, especially in the beginning, inspecting those hives. And who knows, you may get into it and end up having 20 hives, in which case you're still going to want the larger smoker. Build your base fire before you start your smoker. Keep your smoker clean. Don't remember if I said this earlier, but you don't want your smoker so hot that flames are coming out of it and that you're burning your bees. I feel like that should be obvious, but I will just say it just in case. Best burning fuel sources are things like, or basically what you have on hand. For us, it's pine needles. We've also used straw, which we have because of the animals. I like the smell of pine needles more, so that's what I use. But thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. We are hoping to become monetized in the near future. All right, bye.